Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into Gujarat, aren't we? A state that, well, for a lot of people, it just screams BJP.
Oh, absolutely. Their grip there is legendary, you could say. It's not just strong, it's like a political fortress they've held for decades.
Right. And you've shared some really interesting stuff outlining what sounds like a pretty bold move by the Congress Party. They're trying to, what, claw back some ground there?
Bold is definitely the word. You have to remember the context. Gujarat, BJP heartland since, what, the late 90s?
Yeah, a long time.
And just think about 2022, those assembly elections, the numbers were just staggering. BJP got 156 seats.
Wow.
And Congress, 17. 17. That's not just a gap, it's a canyon. It really shows you the mountain they have to climb.
It really does. A very stark picture. So the core of this Congress strategy, then, is this massive shakeup down at the grassroots level.
Exactly. Districts, cities, the whole lot across Gujarat. They're calling it a political spring cleaning.
Huh. Which sort of implies things were pretty dusty before, right? Like they know they need a total refresh to get some energy back.
Well, yeah. You don't call it a spring clean if you think things are just fine.
Yeah.
This isn't minor tweaking. It's aiming for a fundamental rebuild.
And they're putting resources behind it.
Seems like it. The logistics alone are quite something. They've sent out 183 AICC observers.
183?
Yep, one for every district and city unit.
Yeah.
And they're not just lone wolves. They've each got backup from 4 state-level leaders. It's a pretty significant deployment.
Okay, so you've got this like small army of observers hitting the ground across Gujarat. What's the mission brief? What are they actually supposed to do?
Fundamentally, their job is assessment.
Mm.
Go out, look at the local party workers, the current setup, and basically talent spot.
Talent spot.
Yeah, figure out who has the potential to actually lead these new committees they want to set up, who has local clout, who could maybe be the next generation of leaders for Congress in the state.
Okay. Scouting for new blood.
Exactly. And they're on a clock. These observers, they need to get the reports in, detailed evaluations, by May next year, 2025.
Got it. So these reports are meant to be the basis for picking the new local bosses and committees.
That's the plan. Sounds pretty methodical on paper, doesn't it?
It does, but I also got the sense from the material that it's not exactly running like clockwork already. Some early hiccups.
That's putting it mildly, perhaps. Yeah, astute point. The ambition's there, but the rollout, it's hit some internal turbulence.
Turbulence, like what?
Well, there are already disagreements bubbling up, even arguments, apparently, over who got assigned where.
Ah.
And it sounds like some of those old, familiar issues, caste politics, personal loyalties, are cropping up straight away.
So this spring cleaning is already stirring up the old dust bunnies, is that it?
You could say that. It mentioned some observers are pushing back on their assignments, saying, oh, it's logistics, it's too far, whatever.
Right, the official excuse. But you suspect there's more to it.
Well, insiders seem to think so. Logistics might be the cover story, but it looks like it's more tangled up in Gujarat's, complex political web.
How so?
The suggestion is some leaders are trying to get assigned to specific districts, places where perhaps their caste is strong or where they already have a network of supporters.
Ah, so it's about influence, positioning themselves in the new structure.
Potentially, yeah. Trying to carve out or solidify their own little power bases, even as the party is supposedly trying to unify and rebuild.
Right. And what about the other side? Observers who aren't happy with where they've been sent, why would they be reluctant?
That actually tells you a lot about the deeper problems, I think. Gujarat's social fabric, the caste equations, they're incredibly intricate. And maybe not every leader feels equipped or comfortable navigating that, especially in a place they don't know well.
So like being dropped into a district where you don't understand the local dynamics, don't know the key players, the sensitivities.
Exactly. There's a real risk of being ineffective, or worse, stepping on toes, alienating people, just because you lack that local feel, that deep understanding.
Which, as you pointed out, kind of raises a big question mark, doesn't it? About the connection between the Congress leadership and the actual people on the ground.
It does.
If the folks sent to rebuild feel out of their depth with the state's basic social reality, how are they going to challenge the BJP, who seem to have that stuff down cold? Feels like a disconnect from the start.
It's a very real concern. If your revitalization team feels disconnected from the grassroots, that's a massive hurdle right there.
Now, we saw the official line, right? Mukul Wasnik, the Gujarat Congress in charge, he's saying everything's fine, observers are committed, it's all proceeding as planned.
Of course. You'd expect that public stance, project control, unity.
But the feeling you get is that these initial arguments are maybe just the surface noise, that there's a bigger issue underneath.
I think anyone who follows Gujarat politics closely would suspect that,
Yeah.
the Gujarat Congress, well, it has a history, a long history of internal factions.
Right. Different camps, different leaders, often fighting each other almost as much as the opposition.
Precisely. It's been a recurring theme. Leaders and their loyalists sometimes seem more focused on internal positioning than on taking on the BJP. And the BJP, let's face it, has been incredibly unified and dominant there.
So Rahul Gandhi's big push here, this whole restructuring, is meant to be a clean slate, move past all that infighting.
That was undoubtedly the hope. A chance to reset, bring in new energy, focus outwards. But these early signs, well, they suggest those old habits, those deep-seated divisions, are proving really hard to shake off.
Okay, let's step back a bit. Why Gujarat? I mean, apart from it being Modi's home state, why is it so important nationally? Why does this Congress effort matter beyond the state borders?
Oh, it's hugely significant, symbolically and strategically. Because it is Modi's home state, because it's been the BJP's laboratory, their powerhouse for so long,
Yeah.
their success there reinforces their entire national narrative.
Right, the Gujarat model narrative.
Exactly. So for Congress, even making a dent in Gujarat would be massive. It would send shockwaves, boost morale everywhere, suggest maybe the tide can turn.
And failure.
Failure just reinforces the perception of BJP dominance and Congress decline. It really matters for national momentum, for alliances, for the whole story. Gujarat punches above its weight politically.
The material mentioned their performance swings, didn't it? Like, 2017 was relatively better for Congress.
It was, yeah. They put up a much stronger fight then.
But then 2022 was that huge drop-off we talked about. What happened in between? Why couldn't they build on that 2017 showing?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Part of it was key leaders jumping ship to the BJP. That always hurts.
Defections, right?
Yeah. But also perhaps a failure to really capitalize on local issues, to connect consistently. And the organization itself at the ground level, it's often seen as their Achilles heel, just not having that robust, always-on presence that the BJP has cultivated.
Which brings us back to this restructuring effort, trying to fix that core weakness.
Exactly. It's an attempt to address those very structural problems that let any momentum they gained just sort of evaporate.
And hovering over all of this, as always in Indian politics, is caste. You mentioned it with the observer assignments. Just how central is caste to politics in Gujarat?
Oh, it's fundamental. Absolutely crucial. You can't understand Gujarat politics without understanding caste dynamics. The BJP has been incredibly adept at building and managing complex caste coalitions over the years.
So when observers are reportedly angling for assignments based on caste,
It just shows how ingrained that thinking is. It's still a key part of the political calculation. But for Congress, relying too heavily on that or being seen to, it's risky.
House.
It could just reinforce those internal divisions, make it look like they're playing the same old games, relying on patronage networks instead of building a broader issue-based appeal. They need to somehow get beyond just caste blocks if they really want a revival, build a bigger tent. It's tough.
It sounds incredibly tricky. So looking towards that May 2025 deadline for the reports, what's your gut feeling? Is this genuinely a potential turning point, or were we likely just seeing another chapter in the internal struggles of the Gujarat Congress?
Honestly, it feels like it could go either way. It is a crucial moment. If, and it's a big if they manage to get past this initial infighting, if they can actually achieve some unity and push through real reforms on the ground, maybe it lays some foundation for the future.
But the if looms large.
It really does. Because if the squabbling continues, if it stays focused on who gets what position rather than the bigger goal, then, it risks being another false dawn, another missed opportunity.
And meanwhile, the BJP isn't exactly standing still, are they?
Not a chance. They're a machine in Gujarat. Highly organized, constantly working to maintain and expand their dominance. The contrast in organizational muscle is just stark. Congress has such a steep climb ahead. How this restructuring plays out internally will tell us a lot.
Yeah, it really feels like the stakes are incredibly high, not just for Congress in Gujarat, but you could argue for their national picture, too.
Totally agree. Success there, however modest to start, could give them a real shot in the arm nationally. Credibility, momentum.
Yeah.
But another failure.
Well, it just adds to the questions about their long-term future as a main challenger. Gujarat often feels like a bellwether.
So wrapping up this deep dive then, we've looked at this ambitious plan, these big hopes for a Congress comeback in Gujarat, but also these immediate, quite serious internal hurdles popping up. It leaves you with a big question, doesn't it?
Given everything we've discussed, the deep roots of factionalism, the struggle to connect at the grassroots, the massive influence of caste, and just the sheer dominance of the BJP, what else? What fundamental changes beyond just rearranging the party structure might Congress really need to make to actually win back significant lasting influence in a state like Gujarat? It feels like it needs more than just new committees.
That's the core question, isn't it? What's the secret sauce they haven't found yet?
Something to think about. Thanks for digging into this with me.
My pleasure. Fascinating, if challenging stuff.